Imagine a world where honor means more than life itself, where, in the face of failure or disgrace, a warrior's last act isn't to flee, but to take their own life, an act seen not as cowardice, but as the ultimate expression of courage and loyalty. This is the world of the samurai, and this is the tradition of seppuku. Seppuku, or hara-kiri, was the ritual suicide of the samurai, an ancient practice that is often misunderstood by modern audiences. Today, we will explore the origins of seppuku, why the samurai performed it, and the deep cultural and philosophical significance it held within Bushido, the way of the warrior. What drove these noble warriors to commit this final terrifying act? By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of the code that shaped their every action, even in death. Chapter 1. What is seppuku? Seppuku, sometimes known in the West as hara-kiri, meaning belly cutting, was the samurai's ritual suicide. It was a highly ceremonial and carefully structured act in which a warrior would disembowel themselves with a short sword, usually in the presence of witnesses. This act wasn't spontaneous and it wasn't chaotic. It was a carefully choreographed ritual that carried profound meaning. While seppuku seems brutal to outsiders, to the samurai, it was the highest form of redemption, a way to restore honor in the face of failure, defeat, or disgrace. For the samurai, dishonor was worse than death. This deep-rooted belief was at the heart of the Bushido code, which emphasized that a warrior's honor, loyalty, and duty transcended even their own life. In performing seppuku, the samurai would reclaim their dignity and display their courage one last time. They chose death on their own terms, showcasing that even in their final moments, they could maintain control and composure. But why was this ritual considered so essential? What did it symbolize, and what was its significance in the samurai's worldview? Let's dive deeper into the reasons behind this ancient practice. Chapter 2. The Origins of Seppuku. To understand seppuku, we must first go back to its origins. The practice dates back to Japan's feudal era, likely beginning around the 12th century during the rise of the samurai class. In times of warfare, defeat in battle was a dishonor too great to bear for a samurai, especially if they were captured by enemies. Samurai were expected to meet death with dignity rather than endure the shame of capture, and so they began taking their own lives. Over time, seppuku evolved from a wartime practice into a formalized ritual for other reasons, such as atonement for crimes, failure in duty, or disobedience to one's lord. It became a means of proving loyalty and sincerity, core elements of Bushido. Samurai didn't view seppuku as a tragic or pointless act, but rather a final demonstration of their honor and moral resolve. An early account of seppuku is recorded in the tale of Minamoto no Yorimasa, a warrior poet who took his own life after a failed battle in 1180. In choosing seppuku, Yorimasa embodied the ideal that death was preferable to living in disgrace. Chapter 3. Ritual of Seppuku. Seppuku wasn't an impulsive act. It was a meticulously planned ceremony, often performed with ritualistic precision. The samurai would dress in white, the color of purity, and kneel on a prepared mat. They would then compose a death poem, a final reflection of their thoughts, emotions, and regrets. These poems often reflected on themes of impermanence, duty, and honor. Once the preparations were complete, the samurai would take a short sword or dagger, called a wakizashi, and plunge it into their abdomen, making a left to right cut. The act of disembowelment was excruciating, but it was meant to demonstrate the warrior's strength, endurance, and control even in the face of death. But the act didn't end there. Often, a trusted friend or fellow samurai, known as a kaishakunin, was present to assist. The kaishakunin's duty was to deliver a swift, merciful beheading once the samurai made the cut. This ensured a quick death and prevented unnecessary suffering. The presence of a kaishakunin was considered an honor, and it showed the samurai's connection to others, even in their final moments. This ritual was not just about ending life. It was about ending it in a way that upheld the virtues of Bushido: honor, loyalty, and courage. Chapter 4. Why did samurai perform seppuku? Seppuku wasn't forced upon the samurai. It was a choice, albeit one often driven by immense pressure. But why would a warrior willingly embrace such a painful end? The reasons varied, but they all revolved around the core tenets of Bushido. One common reason for seppuku was to avoid the shame of capture. In the chaos of battle, if defeat was inevitable, a samurai would rather take their own life than fall into enemy hands. Capture meant humiliation, loss of honor, and often torture. By choosing seppuku, the samurai could die with their dignity intact, showing their enemies that even in defeat, they remained honorable. Another reason was to atone for failure or wrongdoing. If a samurai failed in their duty or disobeyed their lord, seppuku was seen as a way to cleanse themselves of the shame they brought upon themselves, their family, and their clan. It was an apology written in blood, a final act of loyalty and responsibility. One of the most famous stories of seppuku for atonement is that of the 47 Ronin. These masterless samurai avenged their lord's unjust death by killing the man responsible. But afterward, they performed seppuku, knowing that their actions had broken the law. In doing so, they demonstrated the complex nature of Bushido, balancing loyalty, duty, and the law in the most extreme of circumstances. Seppuku could also be ordered as a punishment by a samurai's lord, often for disobedience or failure. In these cases, the act wasn't voluntary, but it was still accepted as the honorable way out. The samurai, even in disgrace, could reclaim some measure of dignity through their death. Chapter 5. The meaning of seppuku in Bushido. To truly understand seppuku, we must place it within the larger framework of Bushido, the way of the warrior. Bushido was a philosophy that governed every aspect of a samurai's life, from their martial skills to their moral compass. Central to Bushido was the idea that a samurai's honor was more valuable than life itself. Living in disgrace was considered worse than death. Seppuku, then, was the ultimate expression of Bushido's principles. It was an act of courage, proving that the samurai's commitment to honor, loyalty, and duty extended even to the point of self-sacrifice. It was also an act of responsibility. When a samurai committed seppuku, they were taking full accountability for their actions. In Bushido, a samurai was expected to control their emotions and reactions in life and death. Seppuku demonstrated this control. Even in their final moments, the samurai remained composed, choosing death with the same discipline that they had applied in life. In doing so, they achieved what was known as meiyo, or honor, and upheld the ideals of Bushido until the very end. Chapter 6. The Legacy of Seppuku in Modern Japan. Although the samurai era has ended, the spirit of seppuku and the values it represented still lingers in Japan today. While the practice of ritual suicide has faded from modern society, the principles of Bushido honor, loyalty, and courage are deeply ingrained in Japanese culture. The samurai's commitment to these values can be seen in the workplace, where dedication to duty and loyalty to one's organization often take precedence over personal desires. The concept of giri, or obligation, remains a central theme in relationships and responsibilities. Even martial arts like kendo and judo retain the focus on discipline, honor, and respect, echoing the values that once guided the samurai. Seppuku's legacy also finds echoes in Japanese literature, film, and art, where the sacrifice of personal well-being for the greater good is a common theme. If you're interested in exploring more about the influence of the samurai in Japanese art, check out the link in the description for some incredible samurai-themed artwork. The samurai's devotion to honor continues to captivate audiences worldwide, even as the world changes. And now we ask, what lessons can we take from the samurai's practice of seppuku today? While the act itself may seem distant, the principles behind it, honor, accountability, and loyalty, are values we can all aspire to. Seppuku may have been an extreme form of upholding those values, but at its core, it was about maintaining integrity and responsibility, even when faced with the gravest of consequences. Chapter 7. Famous cases of seppuku in history. Throughout Japan's history, there have been several high-profile cases of seppuku where samurai sacrificed their lives in extraordinary circumstances. One of the most famous stories is that of General Nogi Maresuke, who, along with his wife, committed seppuku upon the death of Emperor Meiji in 1912. General Nogi believed that his duty to the emperor was so profound that he could not live under a new ruler, so he chose to die with honor. Another well-known case is the story of the 47 Ronin, a group of samurai who avenged the death of their lord, Asano Naganori, after he was forced to commit seppuku for striking a court official. These loyal retainers planned and executed their revenge, and afterward they were ordered to commit seppuku themselves. This tale of loyalty and sacrifice is still celebrated in Japan and has been immortalized in plays, books, and films. These acts of seppuku remind us that the code of Bushido was not just about warfare, it was about loyalty to one's master, to one's principles, and to one's own sense of honor. In each case, seppuku was seen as the highest form of fidelity to these ideals, even when it meant the ultimate sacrifice. A final reflection on seppuku and Bushido. Seppuku, while a practice rooted in a time-long past, continues to be a symbol of the deep and complex values within Bushido. It was more than just a ritual, it was an expression of a warrior's commitment to something greater than themselves, whether it was their lord, their family, or their honor. Though the samurai are gone, the lessons of seppuku endure. It serves as a reminder of the importance of accountability, courage, and loyalty, values that transcend time and culture. While we may never face the same choices as the samurai, we can still reflect on their example, seeking ways to live honorably in our own lives. If you found this exploration of seppuku enlightening, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the fascinating history and philosophy of the samurai. We'll continue to explore the values, stories, and principles that shaped not only Japan but the world. Thank you for watching, and remember, honor, like life, is not eternal, it's what we make of it every day.